Hi everyone, I'm John M. Sweeney, and I am here today to speak to you all about how to hack your mental health. When I think about my own mental health, I think back to a point in my life 3.5 years ago where I lied awake in bed wondering what was the meaning of my life. I was stressed, I was worried, I was anxious, I felt like I was a failure. And this had something that had happened many weeks previously. Many nights I stayed awake till all hours of the morning. Till this particular morning I asked myself a question. At 2:30 a.m. I said, John, what legacy are you going to leave in this world? What are you going to do with your life? Now my wife turned to me and she asked me a question. She said, John, who the hell are you speaking to at this hour of the morning? To which I replied, myself. Where else would I get an expert opinion at this hour of the morning? So I'm the founder and chief kindness officer of a global social movement called Suspended Cofees. Suspended Cofees is the advanced purchase of a cup of coffee as a gesture of goodwill or a means to pay it forward to another human being. It can be a cup of warmth for somebody experiencing homelessness, or it can be a cup of hope for somebody well-to-do but perhaps a little bit down in their luck. We have over 300,000 followers across all our social media platforms. We have over 2,000 cafes in 34 different countries all over the world, and directly or indirectly we've touched the lives of millions of people. We've also inspired countless acts of kindness in communities all over the world. Now, people often ask me the question, John, why coffee and why kindness? I like to say I didn't choose the mug life chose me. And the reason why I chose coffee is because Suspended Cofees is an old tradition which originated out of Naples in Italy over 100 years ago, and I couldn't find a modern day equivalent for tea. And the reason why I chose kindness is because it was quite the opposite to my upbringing. Very much the opposite of my upbringing, to the point of when I was in primary school, I was bullied and I was put down quite a lot by teachers, to the point of I came home with a black eye because I didn't learn my homework, to other kids who beat me on one particular day, to the point that I almost died. Now, it happens when it's live. And basically, that was a big part of my childhood. And when I started secondary school, I said, yes, it's a new beginning, a fresh start. Nobody knows me. I can fit in. And I'm going to just try and be nice to everyone. So I went to secondary school, got on great, loads of friends. Everybody liked me, fitted in really well. Till the 21st of May, on my 13th birthday, I arrived in school. And a couple of guys, approximately 10 to 15, decided to give me a birthday beating. So they decided to beat me up because for no other reason than for having the audacity to come to school on my birthday. So I got kicked into the head, I got punched, I got beat quite bad to the point of I had to go to the doctor and to hospital. And it was so severe, in fact, that some of those kids ended up getting suspended as well as some of them ending up getting expelled. Now, because of that, when I arrived back at school, everybody was there, all the people who were previously my friends, like approximately 3 weeks ago, wouldn't talk to me. Felt like, I was being completely ostracized from my peers. The friends I thought I had no longer looked at me or would speak to me. I was labeled a rat. I was labeled a telltale. I was told I was my fault. Everything was my own doing. And I was pretty much made to feel like I was the loneliest person in the school because nobody would talk to me, except, of course, myself. Which I've had many good conversations with myself. And but it was a really, really tough time because I felt like, I felt like everybody hated me. In fact, that's what they were portraying. So I had a real heart-to-heart with my guidance counsellor when I was 15 years of age. And I said, I want to do something with people. I want to do something with people. I know it. And she said to me, look, John, your best opportunity in the future isn't social care or social science. You're probably better off leaving school at 15, pursuing a career in plumbing. Now, I always say to people that was a really bad decision for me personally because I did it for 12 soul-destroying years, but it was also a really bad decision for the poor people whose homes I flooded. Because I was a terrible plumber. To give you an idea how bad I am, my wife currently does the plumbing in our house because, no joke, because she's sick to death of the damage I've caused every time I pick up a wrench or a spanner. So, I'm here to talk to you about surrounding yourself with kindness and the importance of that and what it can do for you. So there's loads of life hacks with kindness. I mean, there's so much scientific research about self-compassion and all of these. You can look it up. I won't bore you with those details. But there's many hacks you can do, like holding a door open for someone. Amazing things happen, like people smile. And, saying thank you to shopkeepers, being polite. So very, very good thing to do. And I have this one particular hack, which I do with my wife, actually, because she used to get quite upset with me because I was constantly late. So I'd text her and say I'll be home in an hour, and she'd see me like 17 hours later. And she'd be there like, John, this can't carry on. Like, it's not good. And so I come up with an amazing hack, because I'm not lying to her. I can't lie to her. So the hack is, effectively, I would say to her, send her a text message, love, I'm going to be home in 1 hour. And if I'm not home in 1 hour, read this message again. So there's 3 core ingredients to impactful kindness that if you incorporate into your life, it has a massive and profound impact, not alone on everything you do, but on your mental health and well-being. So one of the first of those is to be kind to yourself, something we inherently struggle with as human beings because we think we have to do something for everybody else first. That's a lie. You don't have to do it. You do it for yourself first, because if you're not right, nobody else is. And a little quote there that says, be kind, or be careful how you're talking to yourself because you are listening. It's so important to talk to yourself in a nice way. Like when I was quite nervous about 10 minutes ago down the bathroom, thought I was going to faint, I just looked in the mirror and I said, John, you have amazing eyebrows. And like, that totally lifted my spirits. I cannot tell you how much. So the second one is to be kind. The second one is to be kind to yourself, So researchers find that self-compassion brings about more constant feelings of self-worth than does self-esteem. That's because self-esteem may depend on comparing yourself favorably to others, while self-compassion is an intrinsic acceptance of yourself. Now, the second one I like to point out is to be kind to others. So I have a little quote which I like to say to people: if you want to see change happen, be kind to others. Because if you want to create a world where your kids will live, where you live, where everybody's happy, you cannot be a nasty person to people. You have to be kind. So if you complain about life, if you complain about other people, that's fine, but it's not going to get you nowhere. Negativity breeds negativity. So you've got to put kindness out into the world if it's the world you want to live in. Perpetually kind people have 23% less cortisol, which is the stress hormone, which I had for many years previously, which is why I'm so great. And age 2 times slower than the average population. So it's done wonders for my life. People are always blown away when they find out I'm 43. And just quite the surprise, yeah. And my third message is to inspire kindness. So last February I was asked to do a TEDx youth talk over in the island of Guernsey, where they said to me, John, look, we want you to inspire the young people in the island because there's a lot of mental health issues. So I thought long and hard, how can I best prepare for this event? And I said, the best way I can prepare is by not preparing at all. So I didn't have a clue what I was going to talk about. I didn't have a clue what my slides were because one of my volunteers did them. I only saw them 2 minutes before my talk. But I stood up on stage in front of a room full of young people, and I said the one thing I was going to do was speak from the heart. Now, I've always been a big believer in inspiring others. Now, one of the ladies who was in the crowd with her child sent me a message on one of my videos after to say, John, as you can read, thank you. My son was so inspired by you in particular. In 3 days, he's arranged meetings with mental health services and social workers between him and his friends to improve self-esteem and mental health for youth, and has started volunteering at Caritas, which is Suspended Coffee Supporting Cafe. And she said, you were his life-changing moment. Now, I've done a lot of things in my life, but that was probably one of my proudest achievements, to have somebody say that to me, because that's all I've ever wanted to be. When I grew up and I was in school and nobody would talk to me, I cried out for somebody to be that for me. And nobody other than my very close family was there. So it was so important for me in my life's work to do something like that. So another little fact and figure here is witnessing acts of kindness produces oxytocin, occasionally referred to as the love hormone, which aids in lowering blood pressure and improving our overall heart health. Oxytocin also increases our self-esteem and optimism, which is extra helpful when we're in anxious or shy in social situations. And this is science, my friends. This is true. Science does not lie, unless it's proven as a lie afterwards, which occasionally happens. But this one isn't. So this next slide, I thought about the best way to portray the little story I want to tell you all. So perception is a flower in a dark place. And the reason why I chose that slide is because about 1.5 years ago, I was asked to give a TEDx talk in the island of Guernsey. And when I got in the plane, I was second last person on the plane. So I got, offered the seats with the extra leg room without paying extra to Ryanair, which is, that's a win. And a lady got on the plane after me, and she looked quite upset. And she went to sit in her seat, but somebody was sitting there. So the stewardess said, you can sit across from me. And she reluctantly agreed, but you could see she was quite upset. So as she sat down, she looked at me and I looked at her and I smiled, because a smile is a very, very powerful thing. And she smiled back. And at this point, she said, do you want to come and sit next to me? To which I replied, Jesus, I just love to talk to people. Of course I'm going to come and sit with you. So I went and I sat with her and she said, who are you? What are you doing? I said, my name is John M. Sweeney. I said, I've been on this kind of crazy journey with the last couple of years where I'm promoting kindness and doing all these kind of things and I'm speaking at TEDx. And she was like, wow, that's amazing. And I said, look, do you mind me asking what was wrong with you when you were getting on the plane? Because you seemed like a lovely lady. You looked upset. Is there anything you'd like to talk about? And she shared with me that morning she was visiting her dad in Cork, in Ireland. She'd gotten up early to surprise him by cleaning his house because he lived alone. So she filled his dishwasher, cleaned his laundry, did everything she possibly could. Now, when he arrived up in the morning, when he was after getting up out of bed and he came into the kitchen to her, he looked at her and he absolutely tore her apart. He told her she was useless, worthless, and she'd never ever been good enough for him. While she was streaming with tears down her face, telling me this, the stewardess approached us and asked, is everything okay? With an angry face looking at me. And I replied, no, honestly, I'm trying to be nice. And this lady was so upset because she shared with me that her dad has always treated her like this. Since as far back as she can remember, all she's ever wanted to do was make him feel proud. But she never achieved that. And she also shared that she was going back to her partner in the UK who treated her the exact same way. The exact same way. Now, this is a human being who I would describe as, in life you have people who, if they fall over, you have people who come and pick them up. And you have people who, if somebody falls over, they'll dive underneath them to stop them getting hurt. This is a perfect example of this lady. And our plane landed, and we got off our plane, and we exchanged details in the middle of Gatwick Airport. And she said, can I have a hug? I said, of course, I'm a hugger. Anybody else in the room? Anyone? No? No huggers? Jeez. Yeah, okay, it's 5 minutes after this hug. And I hugged her. And we hugged in the middle of Gatwick Airport for about 5 to 10 minutes while we both cried our eyes out. Because I am also a crier as well as a hugger. It's good for you, it's therapeutic. And we cried our eyes out because I could feel that lady's pain. And it was so emotional. And it hurt me so much that another human being felt like that, and that somebody made them, somebody who's supposed to love them and care about them, made them feel like that. And a couple of weeks or months later, I received an email from the same lady to say, John, thank you so much for spending the time with me. Thanks for being so kind to give me the kindness of your time. Because when I was getting on the plane that morning, I was thinking about how I was going to end my life and how I was going to stop the pain from hurting me. And she said, because I taught her something very simple about the importance of being kind to yourself, it's changed every single thing that she does and who she is. And now she's living the life that she wants to live. She's not listening to the negative voices. I have a quote, which I love quotes if you don't know by now. I have a quote which I love to say is, never be afraid to be who you're born to be. Live a life of purpose and meaning. Live a life that's true to you. And it's so important that you listen to that. Because for such a large part of my life, I lived somebody else's life. I lived a life that people told me I should be living. I was branded a loser, I was branded stupid, and I thought that's all I was. And I was very fortunate that I've met some amazing people the last few years. People who believed in me when they don't right at all to believe in me. People like Ryan Nicodemus from The Minimalists, who's taught me about, living a life with less stuff. And another amazing gentleman who taught me, I think, one of the most profound things I've ever learned is a gentleman by the name of AJ Leon. I asked him for advice one day. I said, AJ, have you any advice for me? And he said, John, yeah, absolutely. He said, you've one life. You've only one life that you can live. Don't look back on it with any regrets. Live it to the absolute max. Do what you want. Don't do what anybody else wants. Live a life that's true to you. And it's so important because we get caught up in other people's perceptions and how they describe us. But it's your life. If you ask somebody in a nursing home, have you any regrets? They say, yeah, I have loads of regrets. The things I didn't do, not the things I did. And they say life goes like that because it does. So I remember very clearly when I better not say which teacher it was for legal reasons. But I remember very clearly one of my teachers punching me into the face and telling me I was tick stupid and I'd never amount to anything. I mean, now I'm living the life that I want to live. I'm inspiring millions of people, if you want to say that, right? But I'm also writing for the Huffington Post. I was given an invitation by Ariana Huffington. I also had a documentary featured about me by Facebook, which was shown at a private screening to Mark Zuckerberg and all the team a couple of weeks ago. And I'm traveling around the world telling people about my crazy adventure, sharing my humor, and being who I am. Now, we've never, as human beings, had more access to time, whether it's phones, watches, computers. We've never had less time for ourselves. So just think about that. Think about the life you want to live, whether it's today or tomorrow, and live a life that's true to you. Thank you.